Hello, YouTube. Hello, YouTube. This is Gava Guy. Uh, I'm waiting for John Laun. John Laun has been. This is kind of a conversation that has resurfaced. I made a video back, I don't know, a while ago, a few months ago, um, talking about my conversation with him in an off-air hangout, and his comment on the video was, "I notice you do not want another hangout. Are you afraid?" Since that comment, I have invited him, I think, two other times, and he's backed out of the invite to do another hangout. The reason that I don't like to do hangouts with him is because he's obnoxious, and he doesn't. It's not kind of quid pro quo kind of exchange of questions and ideas. He readily ignores any questions that are asked of him while tossing out just question after question after question to the interlocutor with whom he's in the discussion, and it's just dishonest and annoying in general. I think trolling with reason was the one who kind of resurrected this. I think the last comment from John Laun. Oh, and the other annoying thing was that we got entangled in like two or three different comment threads. And apparently John Laun has no clue how Google Plus works. And so you would ask him a question on one thread, and he would reply to that question on a different thread. And his whole thing about not wanting to do Hangouts is based on the idea that he wants people to be able to read through the comments. Well, if they're completely disconnected because they're different spliced and bits and pieces of conversations that are happening in multiple places, it's not going to be a coherent conversation anyhow, and nobody's going to bother to read it. Which is why it's better to have it all in one place in a Hangout, and then we can also expose the just silly tactics and things that come about when you do your baloney apologetic stuff. I don't even know if I want to bother reading through this. I guess I'll paste the link to this conversation thread in the discussion box. This was kind of impromptu, but I just am so tired of John Laun running his mouth, typing in all caps. He has no idea how to format or do anything. He can't even write sentences. After after trolling with reason resurrected the comments and said that there was nothing from John Laun, which is probably accurate. John Laun said, "To say nothing is an immaterial concept word. Good, you believe in the immaterial. You are on your way to being a theist," which is dumb. You can believe that there are concepts that are not material, but they have a material foundation, which is sound waves and words that and kind of brain signals in our brains. If it wasn't for human beings, those concepts would not exist because they are dependent on thinking beings. Unless there are other thinking beings that have had similar experiences and are out there, but we have no reason, there's no basis for thinking that there are immaterial beings. The words that we are using are not thinking beings. They are concepts. They are symbols. They are language that we've created as human beings. So anyhow, and I tried to point out the fact that we believe in some immaterial things, concepts, does not mean that we are on our way to being a theist any more than John's belief in immaterial things means that he's on his way to becoming a believer in magic pixies. And his response to me is, "Why is a pixie immaterial? How do I know? Have I looked everywhere? Have I asked everyone? Blah blah blah." My reply to him was, "Are angels material beings?" Because if now you're going to try and say that magic pixies are immaterial, or I mean rather material, or suggest that that's even a possibility, then maybe angels are material, and you can pose all of those same questions, because you've got the same basis for believing in angels as there is for believing in magic pixies. And then he turns around and says, "Well, I didn't answer his question about magic pixies." So this is what I said. "I believe that magic pixies are related to angels. So I was curious to hear your view on angels. We can work through the same line of questions you asked about pixies with regard to your belief about angels. Are they material beings? Do you know that they do not exist as material entities? Have you looked everywhere? Have you asked everyone? You see, John, the difference between you and me is that I believe in immaterial things that exist in our minds and nowhere else. They have an effect on humans who understand language, symbols, and concepts, but they do not affect anything else in the world." And by that I mean, I can say dog to a frog, or I can say home to a tree, or I can use words and language to living things or to non-living things. I mean, I can talk about a pen all day long to a rock, and it doesn't change the rock. Whereas I can influence people, and I can influence, or at least people who speak the same language as me, by using words and concepts. And I can see that my language, my words, have an effect on them. So in some sense, language and symbols and ideas are real, at least to human beings that recognize those symbols and words. I go on and I say we can measure the effect of immaterial. We can measure the effect of these symbols and concepts and see how they affect our brains. We can see how they affect human behavior and things. I said we cannot measure or see the effect on immaterial beings or entities, despite the vast numbers of proposed entities in the various cultures through hundreds of years of tests and studies. Rational conclusion is that they only exist in our minds. So that goes same for angels and gods and deities and goddesses and jinn and angels and devils and kami from Japan, ghosts, all of these different things that are supposed to be immaterial, supernatural spirits and whatever, what have you, all just imaginary things that don't exist in the real world. John Laun replies, "You can measure the effects of the laws of logic." Again, nothing to do with what we've been talking about. He ignores what I've said above here about angels and pixies, and makes a statement that's not it doesn't even make sense. You can measure the effect of the laws of logic. Where do you measure that? What tool would you use to measure the effect of the laws of logic? What are the units of measure that you would use that? And I ask him those things. What instrument would you use? I've never heard of this before. And he ignores me. He says, "You cannot even form a concept in thinking. That's not the same as measuring." And we've had this conversation too. So here again, it's a dodge, and claim after claim after claim. I point out that he didn't answer my question, and I asked if he was retracting the statement about being able to measure things related to logic. He says he doesn't remember it. This is in the same thread. This one shouldn't be too hard, John Laun. You just have to scroll up a bit. And then asks a whole bunch of inane and silly questions. Am I a college student? No. How old am I? It doesn't really matter. I'm old enough to have gone to college. I did go to college. I graduated from college. I have two children. Do I take drugs? No. Am I married? No. I mean, yes, I am married. How long have I been an atheist? Probably about four years, give or take. What would be the advantage of a hangout when writing? Again, because we can very quickly stop the conversation instead of letting you go on with nonsense, ignoring my questions. And I can point out the fact, and we can say, no, we're not advancing further until you reciprocate. We had a whole long exchange where John Laun promised me that if I answered, some of his questions in a conversation, that he would reciprocate and answer questions. I don't have that link readily available right now, but I can probably get it and find it. After him asking something between 20 and 30 questions, I think. I think I lost count. But he refused to answer a single question that I asked him. I only asked him one question, and I was waiting for an answer. The question was, is your God omnipotent? I'm sorry, omniscient. That was the question I asked. Is your God omniscient? And he did not. He refused to answer. Couldn't even answer that basic question. And my response to him was, in the end, you're a coward, which he is, which is why he's not here again. And John, if you want to get on later and say, hey, it was a bad time for me, anytime, anywhere, I will jump in. I will rearrange my schedule. I will leave work, provided that I'm not in a meeting or doing a training or something like that. I will leave work to meet with you in a hangout, because you're just nonsense. It's complete malarkey, and you've got nothing. Trolling with reason was 100% right. You've got nothing. And you blocked trolling with reason. My guess is you probably block me. I don't know. But I guess that's all I've got to say about this. John Laun, you're a hoser. Anyways, have a good weekend, everyone.